The AIIB and NDB promise to ameliorate both the deficit in infrastructure investment and the problem of inequitable governance in existing banks. Do you foresee the emergence of these external venues for developing countries putting pressure on the IMF and World Bank to reallocate funds for infrastructure or address governance reform?
Yeah, I think the initial contention for more equitable governance, more representative governance, and overcome the deficit in infrastructure, that clearly I think they will contribute to, and they can contribute to. But the reaction of how does it affect the World Bank or the IMF, I think the pressure on both of these institutions to reform their governance will continue. The creation of the AIIB and the NDB does not alleviate the pressure for them to reform and arrange for more voice for the new emerging economies.
Thank you. World Bank President Jim Yong Kim motioned his support for these new structures, saying that all multilateral and bilateral banks can contribute to a knowledge field called the science of delivery. While much has been said about the transfer of knowledge and skills from existing multilateral banks to the new banks, do you foresee the AIIB and NDB contributing to the science of delivery in their own novel ways?
I think it's a very interesting aspect, because the president-designate of the AIIB in particular has often made the claim we can do better, much better than the traditional institutions. I think it is not clear to me at this point how they're going to do it. But the challenge is out, and the challenge is an extremely ambitious one. So I think, yes, they can contribute, and they will contribute, but how, we don't know. So I think that the World Bank, the ADB, and the other banks are all looking at how that's going to play out. Difficult to predict at this point in time.
And do you think competition in multilateral banking will help elevate standards for the enforcement of environmental and social safeguards in loan contracts, and if so, how?
Yeah, that's of course an issue that has been discussed intensively in the public debate. I think for ADB, I would say we will maintain the gold standard, and what actually has happened as a result of all of this is we are now much more aware of it, that we have very high standards, and that is an asset. It is something that sets us apart. The new banks have pledged to also be more or less at the same international standard of safeguards. We don't know the reality of it. I cannot imagine that they would go into the market undercutting existing standards, because that would immediately lead to a very bad image. And I don't think that these new institutions would deliberately go for a situation where their reputation as a top-notch bank is questioned because of inadequate standards. I think they might position themselves not as gold standard, but at a very high standard.